Somewhere between 10,000 and 13,000 years ago, a monumental event unfolded, an event that would forever set the course of human history. People stopped chasing their dinner across open plains and started coaxing it out of the ground. This great leap was the first agricultural revolution, or as it's better known, the time humans collectively decided, you know what's better than wandering around all day, doing backbreaking labor in one spot forever. Before the agricultural revolution, humans were nomads, hunter-gatherers who roamed the earth like freeloading teenagers raiding nature's pantry. But when the climate warmed around 11,000 BCE, crops began to grow more easily. Instead of wandering, humans experimented with planting seeds and, brace yourselves, waiting for them to grow. This was the start of the Neolithic era, or New Stone Age. It started in the Middle East, where wild wheat and barley grew in abundance. Imagine the scene. Someone, probably out of sheer boredom, decides to toss some seeds into the dirt and boom, agriculture is born. They started small, using wooden sticks and stones to till the land. No tractors, no pesticides, just sticks and hope. Another genius figured out you could boss goats and sheep around, calling it herding instead of animal nagging. Later, pigs would join the club. All of these critters would share their microbes with us, creating disease. Thus began humanity's transition from hunters and gatherers to farmers and herders, or as we call it today, renters and mortgage payers. With agriculture came permanent settlements. People built homes, formed villages, and learned the joys of paying property taxes, or the Neolithic equivalent, giving a chunk of your wheat to the local bigwig with a spear. Populations grew, and with growth came complexity. But let's not kid ourselves. It also brought more mouths to feed, and a rise in neighborly disputes like, "Your goat ate my barley." Although the first agricultural societies popped up in Southwest Asia, humanity being humanity couldn't stop copying good ideas. Agriculture sprouted up independently in Africa, South and East Asia, and the Americas, because apparently nobody wanted to miss out on the fun of pulling weeds. Society started organizing itself. Two new social classes emerged, warriors and priests. Warriors were tasked with protecting the village from outsiders because, as it turns out, not everyone appreciated the concept of bountiful harvests and settling down. Priests did the vital work of asking invisible forces not to ruin the harvest. You know, just in case the wheat gods were feeling petty that year. But here's where things get interesting. As resources became more abundant and villages grew, it wasn't just about fending off wild animals anymore. Warriors figured out how to use sharp objects to keep the peace, or, more often, disrupt it, by raiding other villages for food, land, and whatever shiny objects they could find. And that, folks, is how warfare went from a last resort to a regular Monday morning activity. Fast forward a few millennia to about 3500 BCE, and agriculture paved the way for the first civilizations. Civilizations meant cities, writing, and public works. It also meant figuring out how to survive floods, droughts, and nosy neighbors. People even invented jobs, specialized ones like artisans and scribes. You could finally tell your parents, "No, I'm not hunting mammoths anymore. I'm an artisan. I make pottery." Civilizations also brought religion, social hierarchies, and taxes, because nothing says advanced society like ranking people and taking their stuff.
Thanks, buddy.
One characteristic of civilization is advanced cities. The first cities sprang up in river valleys. Civilizations loved river valleys for their fertile soil and predictable floods. Rivers provided fresh water, transportation, and, most importantly, a convenient way to dump your trash downstream. Farmers produced surplus food, populations exploded, and villages slowly morphed into cities. Advanced cities became hubs of culture, trade, and complaints about traffic jams. Yes, even when the traffic was ox carts. Another characteristic of civilization is the emergence of an organized religion. Ancient people were big on polytheism, which is a fancy way of saying they hedged their bets with multiple gods. To keep these deities happy, they built temples, made sacrifices, and let priests handle all the awkward rituals. It's amazing what you can get away with when you claim to have a direct line to the gods. With food surpluses came free time. People started specializing in trades, and before long, the world had its first artisans. These were the folks who made tools, weapons, and fancy pots your great-great-grandparents would buy at a garage sale. Specialization also meant someone finally got to say, "I'm too important to farm." With specialized workers came social classes. Society ranked people based on their jobs. Kings and priests at the top, farmers and laborers at the bottom. Not much has changed, has it? Civilizations all produced some form of art and architecture, but art and architecture weren't just pretty. They were propaganda. Massive temples and palaces reminded everyone who was in charge and who got to pay for it. That's right, you. This art and architecture was often the result of another characteristic of civilization: public works projects. Public works projects were the ancient equivalent of stimulus packages. Irrigation, roads, and walls kept cities running smoothly and kept unemployed peasants busy hauling rocks. The development of a writing system was another key characteristic of civilization. Writing was invented to keep track of food, taxes, and religious rituals. Priests and scribes became the original bean counters, meticulously documenting everything, except the fun stuff. And so, humanity traded in its wandering ways for plows and paperwork. The Neolithic Revolution planted the seeds, literally, for modern society. From mud huts to metropolises, it all started here. Next time, we'll go mudding into Mesopotamia, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Spoiler alert, Hammurabi has some rules you're not going to like.